listening to the AFTERBUZZ TV network. Now the largest new media platform on the web and your #1 source for after-show entertainment.
Very good, Keith. Johnson.
From the AFTERBUZZ Studios in Los Angeles, California, presented by Maria Menounos and Bing.com, and streaming live thanks to Akamai Technologies, this is AFTERBUZZ TV's Mad Men After Show. We'll break down tonight's episode and get you all the latest news and gossip. If you'd like to buzz in on tonight's show, you can buzz us at 424-256-1729. That's 424-256-1729. And now, another post-game wrap-up show for your favorite TV show. It's AFTERBUZZ TV's Mad Men After Show.
Hello, everybody, and thank you for joining us. Bing is for doing, and we're doing another AFTERBUZZ TV podcast of Mad Men Season 5, Episode 3, Mystery Date. I'm your host, John Comerford. I'm joined on the panel by...
Keven Undergaro.
Yes, nicely.
Phil Svitek here with you guys.
That's right, not in the booth this time. That's nice. Good to see you.
Hey, I'm with all the guys tonight. It's great. Katherine Tulich.
Thank you, Katherine. Yes, we're happy to have you, by the way. It's been a while.
And Katherine Tulich, I mean, she's...
Please, give us the CV.
Should I do it? I mean,
yes,
I'll let...
Hey, I don't want to do it.
Yeah. Oh my God, Katherine! Every time Katherine gets invited to do a show, she's like, "Oh, I've met the cast. I've spoken with the showrunner. Why don't we show this right off the bat? What is this?"
I know, isn't this cool? This is I went to the Mad Men premiere, which was pretty awesome.
Yes.
And this was the gift we got as we were leaving. Hello.
And for those of you on iTunes, it is a phone.
Woohoo!
It's a Mad Men phone.
60s version.
Yeah.
That's right. So
can I just say at the party
please.
that the actors are getting a little much too into character because they were all smoking and drinking.
Ah, right.
Like really smoking.
Not to get out too off subject, but in fact, in the article that we brought up last week, the Newsweek, Elizabeth Moss, she was joking about how she had to go outside for the real thing to smoke cigarettes.
I know, and John Hamm was smoking.
Yeah.
I'm thinking they're really taking this on a little too seriously now.
You can't get out of it.
Yeah.
Do they use pipe tobacco?
No, they use herbal cigarettes.
And I was on the set, that was all herbal cigarettes. There was no real tobacco in there at all.
Wow.
So
I guess they're getting into the whole 60s.
yeah, once you get in the habit, you can't get rid of it.
The whiskey and that.
That's right. So, big, dark episode today. For me, it was really dark.
It was
all power-based, who's in control, all that kind of stuff.
It was amazing.
And just to take the power away from you, John, before we fully get into the episode, a few things of business. If you guys are listening to us, whether if you're listening, you're on iTunes. If you're watching, you're on YouTube. Please rate and comment. John and I, Kevin, and now Katherine, we all come out here and do this every week, and we will continue to do so. This is our free time, and it's free to you guys. So our free time is free to you. So all we ask for in return is that you rate and comment us. And if you've already done so, just tell a friend. It's that simple. You're a fan of Mad Men. You want to share the wealth with your fellow friends. You guys want to have the same base of knowledge to go off of. And you want to be like, hey, I agreed with John that episode, or I didn't. Because if they don't get that reference,
that's right,
then you're going to seem like a fool. You don't want to seem like a fool.
So go to iTunes and rate us, comment on us, and if you're watching us on YouTube, leave a comment, and by all means, tell a friend.
All right, so we have Joan stepping out on her own, so to speak, really pulling the power punch. We got Peggy winning, well, not winning, but earning 400 lards from, back then, from Sterling. But the big story for me, the whole Don issue with his... I called it hallucination because I don't know what he was.
I love that.
I don't know what he was ailing from, if it was a flu or whatever, but certainly it had repercussions down the line. What did you? First of all, regardless of what it was, did anybody? Was anybody thinking, is he really killing this woman?
For a moment, I thought they couldn't possibly be doing that. But I mean, just for a second, you're like,
for a second, I was wondering.
Come on, this
I was
can't
hoping we didn't go there.
Yeah, I mean, I looked to I didn't view it with you guys, but I looked to my viewing party, and I was like, this show. Like, if they went to that level, I was like, the ball rolled out of bounds. I don't like this show.
They already jumped the shark? Is that what, I mean, is that what it was?
It would have been.
Yeah.
Had it gone there.
You know, okay, now if it was real, it reminded me of that one scene that they've played out many times in One Tree Hill where the dog steals the heart. I don't know if you guys... Okay, nobody's ever knows that reference. It was a horrible thing.
We got to listen to that after.
Yeah, it was a terrible thing.
But when he kind of kicked her under the bed, I sort of thought, no, it's probably not real.
Okay, now here's what I was wondering about that. Now, I know you were talking about a Cinderella, but there's the whole thing about the nurses, the one that survived, hid under the bed.
Yeah.
The body that he supposedly chokes in Alexandria kicks her under the bed. They find the daughter under the couch.
Under the couch.
So there's this whole thing about. I was like, what the? You know, I'm not exactly sure how that fits together, but that's the thing I was noting about. Why is that all happening?
I felt like there was so much. That's what I was telling you guys when I walked out of this. My head was about to explode because there was so much in this. It was packed with so much symbolism, so much going on. You have the story of Cinderella. You have the serial killer. You have power struggles between men and women. It seems like men exerting their bullish tactics that we've seen
time and time again.
And definitely more in the past. But we're seeing a change in the guard.
Yeah.
Where we're seeing the women kind of starting to take a little bit of
bit of the
power back, which was happening at this very tumultuous time. And you're also, my big thing is colors. But if you notice the outfits, the uses of baby blues, blue is generally hope, it's heaven, it's baby. Green is growth. And then there's some orange, which is usually just chaos and craziness. And then, of course, the brown, you're drinking the brown water. It seems like every time in the kitchen was the browns. When Joni pulled her, I don't know what she pulled out of the oven, if it was brownies or whatever, but there's just so much going on, and I love it, by the way. I think it's fantastic, but I feel like we have to watch this 2 or 3 times.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Read a bunch of blogs. One of the things we pride ourselves at AFTERBUZZ is that
we go up right after.
Yeah.
We go up right after, and which is great. But in the we've had this problem on Breaking Bad and Walking Dead is that sometimes you like to see it a second time and review the other blogs, get the other critics' take on it, but. Yeah,
I know, because when I'm at home watching this, and AMC actually repeats it twice that night. I tend to watch it twice more, and it's like you need to watch these shows, and this one tonight particularly, I need to watch it like 2 or 3 more times.
Well, for me, the central part of it all was the pitch about Cinderella, and there was that one line, she doesn't want to leave. She wants to stay.
She wants to be caught.
Yeah, she wants to be caught.
That was the last line.
And I think, in terms of that, especially with Dawn's dream sequence, that was what it was about. She wanted to be caught.
But I thought the difference was there. She didn't want to be caught. She wanted to be caught by the wife, or what? Or she wanted to be caught by who? Did she want to be caught by? Because she didn't want to be caught by the wife. I thought it was a turn on that because, if anything, that story related to him in the sense that he wanted to get caught by her, because otherwise he would have kicked her out and kept her out.
But I also feel like maybe we were referring a little bit to a subtext about those mass murders as well. So often, when things happen to women or violence happens to women, somehow it's their fault in a way. Like they wanted to be caught.
Well, and that's the way the grandmother was describing it. Sally is well, they wore these things.
When they wear the short dresses.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes.
And that's an old mentality too.
And remember how she said, my dad gave me discipline. She's idolizing the father. And then we find out the father is this horrible sadist.
Abusive man that kicked her for no reason.
Just a little kick in the rear.
And why did he kick her?
For nothing.
That's what it, that's
and that was the lesson.
And that was the lesson.
Because imagine if you did something, what I would do.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, the threat. It's just unbelievable, the threat and the violence of, wow.
With John's illness,
do
you guys take the sweating and stuff, is this a purge of and I remember, and John, my idea was maybe it was a purge, like what typically happens when you have a fever. You're sweating the poison out of the infection out of your body, and by killing the girl at the end, is it that he slayed the demon? Now that's what my knee jerk was, and then John, you had a great counter to that.
Oh, well, what I was saying is that he succumbed to his past and then killed it in really close proximity. So did he really overcome anything if you succumb to it and then kill, I don't know. I mean, because it's just.
So perhaps he's just the flu-like symptom is him suffering through this changing of the guard.
Yeah, well, that's. I mean,
because we saw with Ginsburg.
Sure.
Basically, now it seems like he's going to be the new Don.
And also, he's
sick. He's tired.
He's in a weird way, and for lack of a better term, he's mourning that Don that used to be. Everybody's talked about how he's changed so much. He's a nicer Don. He doesn't care about as much about work, all that kind of stuff. So is he mourning that past that he had, where he could dominate anybody?
But it was interesting that in his fantasy, he saw the female as so predatory.
That's what I mean. That's how it's different. He wanted to be hot.
He was always predatory. He was always the one that.
And she was pursuing him.
Yeah, and he had sort of so little power. He just basically let her.
And his defenses were down. He's sick. So he was kind of more in the victim role in this, so to speak, the predator and prey.
And her with the bright yellow dress and just the red on the neck, which I felt was like
and the red shoes,
the devil thing. And then Phil mentioned the last shot of her shoe, which is a great callback to Cinderella.
The callback.
I mean, for me, one of the reasons why I actually thought that it was a real sequence was because, typically, you have a dream sequence and then you kind of wake up from it. This was we returned there a second time, so it was like, okay, this can't be a dream. So that's what threw me off, watching it.
Well, I even still at the end I was going, okay, are they so far off this path that when Megan comes in, she's already taken care of the body and the shoes, and I was like, are they really going to go that route?
So
but something saying about them being so far off path. If you notice Megan and Dawn, if you notice the very first shot, you guys, of them in the elevator, they're so far away from each other.
Because
she's young, he's old. That the girl in the yellow dress comes right in the middle of them.
In fact, closer to Dawn.
Closer to Dawn, of course. And we see this changing of the garden, and there's a great. The great quote is, I'm a mistake you love making.
Yep. And that's his past. Yeah.
And that's his past.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing that I was talking about in terms of praying. He's falling prey to that past as well.
So I just want to ask you, do you think the whole thing was a dream sequence, when she first came in?
Wait, to the elevator? No. Oh, you mean the first time and he gets her out?
Yeah.
I don't know. That would be very interesting. Because I found it, I was like, what? How did she know where he lived?
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, so that's what I'm wondering, if that whole thing was a fantasy.
As soon as I found out, well, I'm going to choose to believe that it never really happened at all. That her coming to the house. I think that was all. Yeah. That was all in his head.
Yeah, that's what I think as well.
So I don't think she ever came to the house.
Yeah.
And what do you think about Ginsburg?
I love this guy.
Great, right?
I love this guy.
And by the way, pinstripe, paisley, and pink. If you notice, everything is just
like, what the hell is he wearing?
So what is that all about? Is this the new version of Dawn, or is this?
Well, it's in such sharp contrast to the really tailored. That kind of thing. This thing is so haphazard.
But the new Don, but not in a way that this guy. When he said, "Oh, you really know women," I felt like, has this guy even dated a woman?
Yeah, no.
Like, it was really interesting that he's the new Don, but a totally different kind of new Don.
And by the way, is he in pink because maybe he doesn't like women?
But we don't know that yet.
We don't know. But I feel like we know that the late '60s.
He knows about shoes. So that's a clue.
That's a clue, right? True. Hey, you never know.
I'm just saying.
But once with it started with Kennedy being killed,
right?
And now we're at 1966. We saw from the paper.
July 15th.
And it's only going to get worse because we're going to have RFK get killed. We're going to have
Martin Luther King.
Martin Luther King get killed.
And
this was just. It was all about the old guard trying to keep the old ways,
and even you were just talking about his outfit, meaning Michael Ginsburg. Did you even notice his pants? How they didn't have the high waist, the whole thing. Even they were different color and but even the style was different. They weren't the high waisted thing.
It's definitely coming in. We're getting away from Camelot. We're getting away from the early '60s, and we're getting into what will be
psychedelia. Yeah, we're moving towards that.
And anyway, you see it with Peggy. We're going to talk about Peggy later. But you see, Peggy even wearing a tie. Starting to wear, and she talks about that later. Like, I want to be like. Am I like?
Do I act like a man?
It's real.
Those role reversals.
Real interesting.
But I like that Michael. I thought that was interesting that they put him in that position where he just decides to do another pitch in front of him,
I know the way
doesn't
they
give,
just
doesn't give the boss a clue or
going.
anything like that. Just does it.
But that,
and here's the thing. I was like, as soon as he starts selling, the guy already said yes. Don't resell it. I mean, that's when you walk out of the room. And I thought,
But isn't that the young? Aren't we seeing throughout this episode? We see Sally and Grandma. We see Sally challenging Grandma, and Grandma trying to hold the fort down. We see and Mom and Joan and and Peggy and Roger.
Yeah,
we're seeing and Campbell and Roger. Like we're seeing so much challenging the young, challenging the old.
Yeah, and not very little respect for that sort of that idea of because the generation before it would have been all about sort of respect for your elders.
And even worse with Sally. How old are you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd have had a shoe across my head if I had done that.
Well, my parents were before this generation.
Yeah.
They were the last before the 50s, and so I know that their younger siblings were the 60s, and they were just horrified at the difference. Yeah. They were only 6-7 years apart, but that difference in attitude was so different.
Yeah.
So huge.
Yeah, clearly was.
Huge.
So, but did you? I love his pitch though. Wasn't it a good pitch? Michael Ginsburg's.
He was great. By the way, both pitches were amazing.
I thought they were really. I thought they were good. What you can say? And
I was like, I don't know. I know our fans hate when we do this, but it reminds me of our pitch at Akamai, Phil. For AfterBuzz, and so Phil and I are there, and I'm Don Draper, and Phil is Ginsburg, and the CEO at the end of the meeting goes, Phil, he goes and shakes Phil's hand. Well, you were there, John.
Yeah.
And he was all, it's just interesting, but
I was Roger. No, I'm Robert Morse. I'm wearing the old kind of background.
Yeah. No, you're a crane.
Well, I love the reason why it really worked for me, and I like it. One of the reasons why I love Mad Men for that business side of things is because you kept saying, "Oh, you probably won't like it." Yeah, it's a little bit too dark, as opposed to forcing it on them.
Yeah,
that's what.
Well, yeah. Every time you pull it away, people want. What? Wait a minute.
Wait a
minute. Just pull it away, so they're coming towards you.
Yeah.
So that was very. And I thought the guy's got chops. He knows what he's doing. This is good. Even though he looks like a bumbling fool. I think that's all an act.
But the bigger thing was he also. When they're all having the beer after, and he still didn't get what he did, and the guy had to tell him, you almost got fired.
Yeah, I don't see it that way.
No, but my question oblivious.
But is he that delusional, or is he just choosing not to believe it? No, I'm going to believe what I want to believe. Or what do you think? Does he really not get how close he was to getting fired, or does he not care?
I think I think he's got the Zuckerberg thing.
But he also says
he's a little bit.
Yeah, he's a little bit. What's that sort of condition? Where
what's
like
Asperger's? But what does he say about Don? Wow, that guy's really. What was the word he used to describe Don?
Oh it was like
he had this one complimentary thing to say about him. He's really, I don't know what the hell it was, integrous. I can't remember what it was, but he said it, and the other guy looks at him like, "Are you kidding?"
Were we sitting in the same meeting?
Exactly. But I mean, he has these blinders on about who Don is.
And again, the fact that it's interesting that he's Jewish, and again, the changing of the guard.
Right.
That we're seeing that we can have one. All the other companies have a Jew,
so we have to have ours. They have the Jew, they now have their African American. So
can we talk about Sally and Grandma?
Let's do it. More? Yeah, let's move on to Sally and Grandma.
I just your mom has no rules. Mom has other rules, and it's just going back and forth. But
Well, the first thing that was interesting to me was when she has the conversation with Don, her dad, and instead of like reading a riot act or like saying, "Hey, no, you got to mind him" or whatever, he says, "Yeah, well, you got to learn deal with that and that haunted man." She goes back to he just goes along with her demeaning of the people in the place where she is, instead of saying, "Hey, shape up." He's allowing it.
Right. Well, I mean, he's got no love for that household at the moment. I mean,
but I mean. It's her grandmother or step-grandmother or whatever. So you can't, but he doesn't really hold the line or anything either. So he kind of allows her full reign to talk back, sass, whatever.
But that usually happens too when a parent is kind of the parent that's not living with them tends to sort of be the one that likes to. One that gives the favors and you're fine.
Absolutely, clearly.
But she's very precocious. I mean, I'm on vacation.
Yes, I know.
I'm on vacation.
I get to watch as much TV as I like.
I'm on vacation.
And by the way, is that from the divorce, from Betty's parenting style?
Well, Sally's always been like that. Really.
I also think that once you get divorced, it's like you get to do a lot of extra things because the parents are so. pissed off. Not pissed off, but they're upset that they've ruined your life, that they give you room to do all kinds of craziness.
Right. And we know that the narcissism between both the parents.
Yeah. So clearly they're not really.
So we buy. This kid's a great actress.
Here's another thing is when she said it made me barf or whatever. I went, whoa, that 66 really? I don't remember.
I kind of thought that myself.
What?
Was that a term, barf?
I hadn't heard that until 70s. But again, they do their homework very.
Yeah, well, Matthew's been picked up a couple of times when he doesn't. So,
but that was like, whoa, that one just stuck out at me. It's like, even if they had been, that did not ring true for me. But I'm sure that they did their research on that. So, well, somebody else looked that up. I don't know. that was the one that stuck out.
And it was interesting, too, that when Grandma was talking to Sally about the murderer, we touched upon the sexuality and whatnot, but she said it's a man who hates his mother.
Yeah.
Yes, that's right.
Oh my goodness! So there's so much of that going on.
Yeah. Oh my God! Everybody hates their mother in this thing.
Yeah.
Not just the men.
Right.
I mean, Joan doesn't seem to have a lot of love for Mom either.
No, and her Greg and his mother.
Yeah.
They're battling and.
Wow.
There was a lot about the mothers tonight, wasn't there?
Yeah, we know Peggy had problems with the mother in the
that?
past. Peggy's had problems with her mother in the past. And so it's just interesting,
Yeah, the other thing was I was thinking, this is a tangential association, but we did the whole Cinderella thing and how that kind of lays through that the whole episode. But also in every fairy tale there is the evil stepmom and all that other stuff. I was just wondering, are they
step-grandmother? I'm sure.
Yeah,
and again, this is why it's brilliant writing. And again, I'm sure if we watched this another 2 times and could go through the log, we'd probably figure out a lot more.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why I walked out of this. I was like, oh my God, great episode, but a lot going, a lot of stuff happening.
I thought it was great with the was still going back to the Sally thing. She's so interested. She's just precocious. Grandma says until you got to learn respect. You got to learn how to act like an adult. And here she is trying to be because she wants to know.
She actually is acting like an adult.
Exactly. That's my point. It's like
that's kind of the.
That was the wonderful irony about that. And then Grandma takes the paper away. You don't look at it. She lifts it up, and there on the big old front, the front page is about the horrible murder going on. And then I thought it was just classic, like a child wanting to know more, and then stealing the paper and reading it, and then freaking out, and then seeking solace with the very person who you were pissed off at and afraid of.
Yeah, I know. And what about the way she resolves it? She gives her a drug.
Yeah, gives her Seconal. Oh my God! And her burglar. What was it when she called her burglar alarm or whatever?
I know. She brings out the psycho knife,
and gives her Seconal, and then that's it. Again, mother's little helper. Anything just to get you through the day.
And
that's 60s. Mother's Little Helper.
Oh,
you think about it,
Yeah.
I was just gonna say. I mean, she literally pulled out that from behind her. There was no sheath or anything.
No, nothing, man. It's just there.
Oh my God.
And that just reminded me. That's Dad. That's Dad kicking her in the ass. This is what results in just let's have a butcher knife right here. Give the kid Seconal. Hey, we're good.
Exactly.
Everybody good? Okay. And the kid ends up under the couch, just like that girl under the bed.
Yeah.
And that's how she's saving her. So, which is weird. Another thing, it's weird because where are the boogeyman? Under the bed.
Yeah.
And this is where they end up.
Wow.
So, I don't know. I was just making all those connections as it's happening. I'm going.
A lot going on there. I mean, the heck of a. I know Matthew Weiner wrote half of this. He was co-writer on it, but it's incredible.
And directed by Matt Shankman. I can't remember. I didn't write it down this time. Yeah. Anything about the Sal? I thought the grandma was great though.
She's great.
Yeah.
She's fantastic. And
every time we see her, she's eating bugles. She's eating something else.
Yeah.
Every time we see her. And it's Betty that's having the weight problem.
Betty came in and looked a little thinner.
She did, absolutely.
Well, she was kind of mostly covered though. Wasn't
but she didn't have the big
jowls,
big thing that she had last week. So, but that was,
I know. Yeah, we only saw really briefly tonight. Yeah. Wasn't much at all.
Yeah. But let's move on to the Peggy and Roger and the whole
and Dawn.
Dawn at the end.
Dawn,
D-A-W-N, Dawn. So here again we see Roger having to pay out of pocket.
Well, Roger is really just
he's really losing it.
He's totally losing it,
desperate.
Isn't he?
Every episode he seems to get more and more desperate.
Yeah.
I think something really bad is going to happen. I'll save that for predictions, but I mean it seems like they're building up to this guy's losing it like crazy.
Yeah, and she calls him out on it. He's like, who else are you going to go with?
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah.
I
mean, and everyone else around him is realizing that he's losing it and that he hasn't got much power. Like, Peter and
Peter telling him, you do the day-to-day, the Mohawk's coming in.
He's kind of becoming the joke of the office, isn't he?
Exactly. He's the buffoon.
Yeah.
And when you catch him, he's just sitting in his office, in
not doing anything.
Weird ergonomic lounge chair, whatever he's in, not doing any work whatsoever, and then scrambling like crazy, and have to buy people's allegiance or help, and I'm going.
That's all he has, and think of
all
it.
He's got that's a half a month's salary. That's because that's what he paid off Crane with $1,000. So if you look at it like that, that's almost a half a salary.
And think of think of the growth of Peggy.
Yeah, to be able to stand in that and the presence of mind to stand up to him and negotiate and do an incredible job at negotiating.
And that's where we're seeing the women get rights.
Again, the power play. And it was even better for me because at the end when he finally gives the $400 and he says it better be great. Yeah. She goes, "You want me to take your watch?" So she doesn't even back down then when she gets the money.
Nope.
It's like, whoa. I mean, his power he's like way down here on the totem pole.
And he's so desperately trying. I could fire you,
Yeah, exactly.
I'm the boss.
And they're not even
She's looking at him like, yeah, right.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
Taking a step.
How does that happen?
Taking a step back. How do you think John Slattery feels about this? Do you think he's enjoying this, or do you feel like that his role is actually being reduced, and is that bumming him out? Because
it depends where it's going to go.
Yeah, that's why I say usually, and I don't know how often. Well, I've been told. I haven't been in the meetings, but I've been told usually when on an actor, they tell you where the arc's going. So if you know that, you're happy to play it because, first of all, he's played this way so long. He wants to play something different. He wants to go, I would imagine, if you're an actor, you want to play that, especially if you're headed for something.
He's emasculated, that's fine, but it seems minimal because it seems about Dawn and so many things. Like, I wouldn't call him Best Supporting Actor as of what I've seen the last 3 seasons.
Well, we don't know what's going to happen. I know this is predictions, but I don't know we don't know what's going to happen with Joan and him because we know that the baby is actually his, whether he ever... And now the husband's gone.
But that's why I think they're heading for something with him.
That's what I think,
I don't think you want to put him on the sideline.
And they're not utilizing
too good of an
Campbell
actor
either, so I think they just have their storylines.
But Pete Campbell's not what Slattery is. Slattery is almost like what Brian is in Breaking Bad. He's like,
that's what I think. I think what they're going to keep doing,
him and John Hamm are just
they're going to keep grinding him down, and then have him break, and then there's something really to play there. A beaten, broken down, disillusioned guy, and how does he build himself? That's something to play.
What do you guys think about Dawn, the secretary?
Oh, first of all, I thought she played it great. So under, which was terrific, and just the awkwardness of the whole thing, and I think that they got that right. I thought she did a great job of playing under and awkward and uncomfortable, and I thought Peggy did. I'm sorry. Well, there it is. We're in the scene right now, watching it in the booth here. But I mean, all building up to one visual. I mean, that one visual tells the whole story. All the other stuff about being friends and learning about her, her family and this and that, and please don't tell Dawn I slept in here and other. And it all comes down to looking at the purse.
Yeah,
basically everything that happened beforehand goes out the window.
Right. You mean all that stuff with Peggy kind of relates to her?
Exactly. All that friendship building, all that camaraderie. It goes out all that stuff about her saying, "I used to be like you." Yeah. And I was.
They're relating. They're finding common ground.
Yeah.
And then she looks at the purse, paranoid. Geez.
There's $400 in there.
And I don't want to leave it.
And I don't want to leave it. And so really, we're alike, are we? Oh, we are, huh?
Right.
And they're not, because the fact that she looked at it and felt that she didn't have to do anything, just that she had the look, and then went, "Oh, okay, we're not alike at all."
And how great was it that Dawn left the note on the purse?
On the purse. Exactly.
Yeah, like I noticed.
And even that, even after that, she read the note and everything like that, and she wanted to look in it to double check.
Yep.
Yeah.
And she didn't, because
I'm sure she did, but at some point.
Yeah, exactly. At some point, but I thought the part was, I'll just move these, and she moves the clink clink, the bottle, the clink clink clink. That just filled that awkwardness even more.
Yep.
God. I mean, if they were walking on the street, she'd be, how everybody walks on the other side of the street, and or they clutch their purse to them.
How funny is it when Dawn goes, "Y'all drink a lot"?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. But it's interesting because somebody has made the point. I can't remember that we hadn't seen Don drink in the first 2 episodes.
Yeah, he's drinking less.
Yeah, he was
certainly not this episode.
Yeah, and smoking less except this episode.
And she said, "Don't
smoke."
And Megan said, don't
coughing.
Exactly.
It was funny,
and I think that's all part of him trying to be a different Don.
Did you notice, like, the last shot of Megan, and I hate to jump back, but the last outfit Megan was wearing was the yellow, had the yellow, the blue, and the red, all the same colors.
Yeah.
That we had been seeing the whole episode, and especially the yellow and the red.
That was clear.
Megan.
Clearly.
I mean, excuse me, of
Andrea.
Anyhow, but Joan.
Oh wow, Joan! Wow.
Well, this was a big Joan story tonight.
Yeah, and I thought it was great. I was saying earlier that at the beginning of the episode, she's so excited that the husband's gonna. I forgot his name at the moment. What's his name? Greg. Thank you. Greg's coming back, and by the end of it, boom, doesn't care. You're out.
Well, I knew for me, I knew right away.
That's a big arc.
Well, as soon as she said, you can go.
Yeah.
I was, had they. I always expected that they would go that route, like get out.
Yeah.
I didn't expect it so soon in this episode.
I know, that's what was amazing.
And then she was referring, because I know you said you hadn't seen the earlier, but you know what she was referring to when she said you were a bad man.
No, I don't know anything
Well, he raped her.
He raped her.
Whoa.
Yes. Another incident of violence of men.
In the office.
Yes.
In her old office. And so, it was like, you're not. You're
not a good man.
You're not a good man.
I mean, it's amazing she shouldn't have stuck with him this long, really.
And you know what, if you want to...
John, you didn't know that.
No,
that's what she was referring to.
If you want to take it to a whole level and refer it back to Don,
sure.
Andrea uses the word love making, whatever. And that rape scene was disguised as love, but it was rape.
Yeah.
And I think that's season 2.
It was a power play. He basically was like, I'm going to show you who the boss is. I know you're at this office, and you probably flirt with all these guys, and you have all this power, and basically, which rape we know is about power.
It's interesting that you said, I'm going to show... I'm going to show you who's boss, because in this episode he says, I got my orders, you got yours.
Yeah.
Right.
So he's still trying to run that number on her.
And I'm so proud of her, and again, so progressive to say, you know what, I got this, go.
Yeah.
Get out, and you're not a good man, which was amazing.
Yeah.
And when I knew they were headed for trouble, and I'm always preaching to look for the symbolism and the subtext of the writing, is when she said, geez, we have steak. He's like, I had plenty of steak in Vietnam. God knows what that means. But he said, I want bologna, right? Because he's full of shit.
Yeah.
And then he goes, and tonight, I want veal, which is baby, And so I knew, I'm like, oh, wait a second. This is not going to something weird. I didn't know what was going to happen. And I certainly, I thought he was going to go and die in Vietnam. I thought they were going to play that the whole time out.
That right.
That he was just going to get killed in Vietnam.
Sure.
I thought they were going to do that last year. I'm glad they didn't. I'm glad they avoided the cliche.
Much more interesting.
Much more interesting.
Because then it really sets her, now talk about her really owning her power. She's on her. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just saying, just another thing too about sort of the identity as a man, and I mean the way she sort of says, the army's giving him an identity that, she said something about, that makes you feel like a man.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think that had a lot to do with too, because the fact that he has used these symbols to be what he thinks is a man, but he's not a man at all, which is basically, he's not a good man.
Right.
But he's trying to make him seem like what he thinks is manly things to do, power over your wife, and basically, I'm a army guy, I'm working
leading
from,
men,
and obviously the mother takes her role.
Right.
In all of this, and every time, even the second time, like, we need some more food. Okay, got it. Yep, on it.
They were so. Right, could you go get us some more beer? I'll be gone for a little bit. It's like, wow, all that tacit agreement about everything. It's like, whoa.
Well, just the old guard.
Yeah,
the old guard. The women just be obedient, and the guys are the boss.
They need their time.
And just on another tangent, though, I mean, when he saw the baby, he didn't sort of go, "Hey, it doesn't really look like me."
Yeah, that's true.
Obviously, he didn't even.
And he had about.
Didn't he do the math? I mean,
I
that was the other thing.
He's a doctor, isn't he?
Didn't he do the math that it wasn't his kid?
No, you know why? Because it speaks to what the mom had said, which is he's not going to care about the baby.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the mom understood.
Yeah.
But what the mom didn't understand was that you don't have to fall in line with that. No. But the mom was like, he's not going to care about the kid. He's going to want to just have sex with you. You need to have sex with him.
Yeah.
And you need to play along. And so that's why he's like, look at the kid, great. And then the kid was out, and it was all about sex. And even at the end, he walked out like, if I leave, it was not like I'm not going to be separated from my son.
No, that's right. He didn't even care.
Nope.
He had that much interest.
Exactly, and he does believe it's his son, so it's interesting that he didn't. Yeah, he just.
But he'll come back at some point, because at some point he's going to go, no, that is my kid, and then he's going to cause trouble for later.
You think?
Oh yeah.
I don't know.
Or we just get gunned down.
Nah, I mean, but that doesn't. How does that help the storylines? It doesn't.
Well, there's enough. I think there's enough, and maybe we'll talk about predictions. But I think there's enough in getting Joan back to work.
Yes, I think it's all about Joan going back to work.
But I just think it would complicate matters if he tried to mess with the kid, and because they all did that. They all say, I don't need that, and then they wait, that's my child. At some point they come back thinking that they're going to be dad now.
I don't know. I tended to feel like they were finishing the chapter.
I think he's done.
I think he's done. I think his contract's been ripped up.
Really?
I think because there's enough of her to go back, just to go back to work, and and for me, I think this was.
And we want to see Joan back at work. We want to see her back. Yeah, this is all about getting her back to work.
I don't want her in the suburbs. I want to see Joan back in the office.
You mean like the scenes with Mom?
And even though she looked great in the Anna Magnana black, nice. If everyone knows that reference.
No, and she was always, the most progressive. It totally makes sense that she would arc to the point of standing up to this guy.
Yeah, I just was shocked that it did in one episode.
Yeah, I'm glad though.
Yeah.
I'm glad.
But I think it was a convenient way to get that story done and finished, because I do think it was all about
convenient, timely.
Yeah,
and it'll get her back to work that much faster.
It gets her back, and also symbolically it fits with everything that was going on.
Yeah.
Wow.
Commercial?
Let's do it. Mm-hmm. Roger, if you would please take us to our break. I'm exhausted.
AfterBuzz TV.
Hi, I was once like you. A lazy, angry loner whose only joy was watching TV and surfing the net. And, like you, after I'd see one of my favorite TV shows, I'd be so excited and have so many questions that I'd actually have to talk to my douchebag coworkers about it at the water cooler. Then I discovered AfterBuzzTV.com. AfterBuzz TV produces after-show webcasts and podcasts for TV series of all kinds, like post-game wrap-up shows for all your favorite TV shows. AfterBuzz TV hosts are industry insiders who break down episodes of shows, take calls from fans, and interview cast and crew from each series, with over 60 different after-shows, from Boardwalk Empire to American Idol to Vampire Diaries to Real Housewives, and more. Now, after a night of TV, I can ignore my stupid coworkers, who I hate, and go straight to my desk and watch or listen to all my favorite AfterBuzz TV after shows, and have all the TV fan interaction I need. Thank you, AfterBuzz TV.
AfterBuzz TV. What do you want to buzz about?
And we're back.
Yes, we are. So, no news and gossip this week, huh?
No.
So for premiere, we got a lot of news and gossip. Second week, we kind of got a lot of news and gossip. Third week, who cares?
No, actually, there wasn't a lot.
Yeah,
a lot of it was fashion related.
Yeah,
Zuby Zoo was #1 on iTunes, but I don't know if that was last week as well.
Yeah. So and they've done their news and gossip. They're ready to get on with other things now.
But we actually didn't bring that up. That's actually kind of
what's that?
That was the #1 song.
Zuby Zuby Doo.
Yeah,
or whatever the hell.
Really? Yeah. I mean, that just goes to show the power of Mad Men. I mean, think about you're competing against Nicki Minaj and God knows what other.
Sorry, man.
It's incredible, and the fact that now it's in Banana Republic and it's affected fashion, which is crazy. And when you go by the actual numbers, you guys, this isn't American Idol getting 30 million viewers.
Exactly, it's getting 2.5 to 3.
And so to have this much power,
in terms of AMC numbers, Walking Dead is way higher.
Yeah, exactly. So, but this is still iconic.
It's iconic.
But I think this was their best season premiere, though, wasn't it? This was the biggest numbers they've had.
Exactly.
Well, they made us wait long enough.
Exactly.
All right. So that's all our news and gossip. Let's move into predictions.
And now, your AfterBuzz TV predictions.
We already said a few. I mean, we talked about you guys think that Greg's done.
I think he's done.
You think he's done? I think they'll bring him back. Not now. Maybe not even the season. But I think they'll bring him back.
You think he'll cause a bit of trouble?
I do.
I think. Here's why I agree with John is because as much as it is about Joan coming back to work, it's also it's Roger's in that pot.
Yeah.
And she's
still gonna have to with her work. She's still gonna have to do with work and family, and that just adds more grist for that mill.
There's definitely the aspect of I want my kid back, just to make trouble. I still wonder if it's not the only time you're going to see him back is in the form of a triangle folded flag.
That
Sure. Where he's just dead.
That would be convenient as well.
But again, they've avoided all the cliches up to now, so maybe they will. It does appear though Joan is back to work. I know the prediction,
the trailer.
The trailers for next week are always kind of cryptic. But we see she's wearing red and she's back.
Yeah.
So
she's taking the meeting.
Good and running the meeting.
Which, by the way, I mean it's not in this episode. There was that secretary coming in, and she was like, "I'm supposed to introduce you," meaning she sucks at her job.
Yeah.
She's terrible, that secretary.
Yeah,
she's the one who didn't recognize Joan.
Yeah, and I remember we talked about that. I mean, I was the guy going, "Why did they hire her?" And they hired her because Joan wasn't running it.
Yeah.
So that's who they ended up with. But all right. So what other predictions? What do we think about how's Don's flu?
Well, I feel like Don, this sort of nice Don, and this Don that's basically, seems to be changing. I have a feeling that's all going to blow up at some point.
Well, I mean, we saw his past coming back to haunt him.
He's going to stay on that path.
Yeah.
I really, as much as you think that he killed his demon.
No, I was questioning if he had. I agree with you, though. Yeah. I think that, it's someone, especially at 40 years old, very hard to change. A womanizer, a drunk, it's very hard to change. And then we know he's got serious demons from his past.
And we saw that those demons aren't coming to haunt him. So they're right there under the surface.
And we see a divisiveness growing between him and Megan.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, there's this huge gap, not just generational. But there's just a huge gap between them that I think is just going to get wider and wider. At the moment, he's accepting it because obviously, the fact that he's got this beautiful young wife and that. But I just think that's all going to crack. It's just bound to crack.
And this show is so well written that don't think for a second they haven't taken into consideration what being 40 in 1966 means.
Because that was really old.
It means
that
60 now.
Really old.
Really old.
Back then. He's an old man. It's not 40 today.
Yeah, he's a dirty old man.
He's a dirty old man.
Yeah.
But he's even I'm sure for Madison Avenue, as progressive as it was, it's old then. And I'm sure Weiner and the writers know that. And that's why we see, Campbell and all them kind of taking him down and forget it. Roger with his heart attack.
There's blood in the water, man.
He's he's elderly for crying out loud.
And I think that's what's happening with Roger. Blood in the water, and they're seeing it, and they're sharks. Just taking over.
Stuff. Needless to say, we're excited for next week.
Yes, we are.
Needless to say, we'll probably be wrong about all our predictions, but in a good way.
But yeah, why not? That's okay.
Wrong in a good way.
All right. Well, anything else before we wrap up?
Dancing with the Stars, ABC show. Guess who's on it, John?
I'm thinking. I don't know. I blanked. Who?
Small woman.
Yes, small.
Sherry Shepherd and
Maria Menounos.
Maria.
Maria.
Oh, that's right. And she's dancing with Derek Huff, right?
Team Enough.
Team Enough.
I feel like he's the star in this equation.
Yes.
Because he's won 3 mirror balls.
Oh, that's right. Maria hasn't won any.
No. So let's get a 4th.
That's right.
Let's get a 4th.
And why should we do that? Please tell our audience why.
Well, business-wise.
I love this part.
The longer Maria is distracted, the more money we can spend behind her back on AfterBuzz.
So there you have it.
Katherine, how do we find you?
How do you find me?
Yes, how do our audience
you're an LA Times writer. You must have a fan base. You don't have a Twitter follower?
I don't. No, I will get onto Twitter.
So they just read the LA Times.
Old school Katherine.
Nice, right on.
Back in the 60s. No, I'll update, I'm sure. No, I will promise to start Twittering.
Well, you can read Katherine.
You can
find me here.
At LA Times. Well,
and read the And by the way, love having you here. I hope we can have you here every week. It's terrific. We love your insight, and your voice is great on this.
You make us smile.
Thank you so much.
Wicked smart.
So what about you, Phil?
You can find us on other AfterBuzz TV shows. Katherine and I do Revenge.
Nice.
Yes.
Do you really? All right.
Yeah, we do Revenge together.
Check that out.
Yes, which will be back soon.
April 18th.
Woohoo! Can't wait.
That.
Where they can find you,
I know there's a few shows we can find you here, and maybe none of the Mad Men.
The Pauly D Project. All right, we better go.
All right.
Bye, guys.
All right, everybody. Thanks for listening. We'll talk to you next week.
From Bing.com, executive producers Maria Menounos, Keven Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AFTERBUZZTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AFTERBUZZ TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AFTERBUZZ TV or its owners or principals.